In a high-security military base, hierarchy rules everything. Orders are obeyed without question. But sometimes, appearances can be deceiving. A young officer, seemingly ordinary, was ordered to serve coffee, just another routine task in a sprawling base filled with generals, colonels, and soldiers. No one could have imagined what would happen when one general looked up and saw her face. In an instant, the room froze. Silence filled the air, and the balance of authority, once taken for granted, vanished in an instant. This is a story of power, presence, and the shock of true authority. Welcome to United War, the channel where we uncover the untold stories of courage, authority, and military discipline. Here, we explore the moments when protocol, hierarchy, and human presence collide, revealing truths that few ever witness. The base was alive with precision and discipline. Soldiers moved with measured steps. Radios crackled intermittently. The hum of activity filled the air. In the command room, generals and officers gathered, discussing operational matters. The air was formal, every gesture rehearsed, every word weighed. And then a young officer entered the room. She carried a tray of coffee, an assignment that seemed routine, even mundane. Her uniform was standard, her demeanor polite, and her movements fluid. To anyone looking at her, she appeared just another junior officer following orders. But appearances can be deceiving. "Serve the generals," one officer barked, almost absent-mindedly. The room was a sea of authority. Every general was engrossed in their discussion, unaware of the presence approaching them. The young officer moved quietly, gracefully, trying not to disrupt the ongoing meeting. Some generals barely noticed her. Some glanced at her with mild curiosity. But one, seated at the far end, looked up and froze. His eyes widened. His hands halted mid-motion. The coffee in his hand trembled slightly. He couldn't speak. He couldn't move. The room, filled with commanding officers, suddenly felt smaller, tighter. Others noticed the shift in energy. Whispers spread quietly among the aides and junior officers. The young officer continued her task, calm and collected, completely unaware of the growing tension she had caused. The general, once a figure of unshakable authority, sat frozen, staring at her. His mind raced. Why was he reacting this way? Who was she? No one in the room had ever seen such a reaction. The silence stretched. Seconds felt like hours. The other generals began to notice the sudden stillness around their colleague. Some glanced at the young officer. Some followed the general's gaze. Confusion rippled through the room. She set the coffee tray down, her movements steady, her expression neutral, yet her presence alone commanded attention. It was subtle, quiet, but undeniable. And then, without a word, the general rose slightly from his chair. His breathing changed, his posture stiffened. Something inside him recognized her, something he had not expected and clearly had feared. The young officer turned slightly, giving the general a calm, measured look. In that instant, everything changed. The room, once filled with noise, chatter, and routine, was silent. The general froze completely, unable to continue his meeting or even acknowledge the coffee she had brought. Stay with us for part 2, where the truth of her identity is revealed and the general realizes why fear has replaced his authority.
The room had gone silent. The young officer, holding her coffee tray with the same calm composure, now commanded the attention of every general in the room. One general, frozen in place, could not hide the recognition slowly dawning on him. What had seemed like a routine task was now a confrontation he had not prepared for. In Part 1, a simple act of serving coffee created tension no one expected. Now, the true reason for that tension is about to surface. His eyes darted subtly to her insignia. Something familiar, something unmistakable, clicked in his mind. The woman wasn't just any officer. She held rank and authority he had only seen in high-level briefings. His posture changed, shoulders stiffened, hands trembling slightly. The coffee he had been about to drink now sat forgotten on the table. Whispers began circulating among the aides. "Do you see who she is? Is it really?" The room felt smaller, heavier. The young officer set the tray down. Not a word, not a gesture. Yet the authority she radiated was louder than any order. The generals around her instinctively recognized it. Even the highest-ranking officers in the room could feel the tension. One aide discreetly stepped back. Another checked his notes nervously. The general, still frozen, attempted to compose himself. He cleared his throat, but no words came. His mind raced. How could he have not noticed her rank before? Why hadn't anyone told him? What was he supposed to do now? The other generals exchanged glances. Some suppressed smirks of realization. Some leaned forward, curious about what would happen next. The aides whispered quietly, realizing this was no ordinary moment. The hierarchy had shifted in an instant, not through conflict, but through presence. All eyes were now on her. Her calm demeanor contrasted sharply with the general's visible panic. This was not fear of punishment, it was recognition. Recognition of someone whose authority could not be questioned. Minutes passed, though it felt like hours. The general tried to regain composure. He adjusted his uniform, straightened his chair, attempted a small nod, but the tension remained. The presence of the young officer had rendered him immobile. She, however, moved naturally, not a gesture of superiority, not a smirk or a glance of triumph, just presence, measured steps, calm authority. Narrator. Sometimes true power does not come from shouting or orders. It comes from the quiet certainty that you are where you belong and everyone else can feel it.
The general remained frozen in place, unable to speak. The young officer had said just a few words, yet they carried weight that filled the entire command room. Every soldier, every officer, and even the aides sensed it. Hierarchy had shifted. Previously, a simple act of serving coffee revealed hidden authority. Now, the truth is about to come to light, and it will leave no doubt about who commands respect in this room. The aide at the side of the room stepped forward, producing a document from the folder he had been carrying. He spoke carefully. "Sir, the officer before you is Brigadier General Elena Marlowe, confirmed, highest operational authority in this sector." The general's face drained of color. His mouth opened, but no words emerged. Whispers erupted softly around the room. "Brigadier General? That explains the hesitation." The young officer, Brigadier General Marlowe, remained composed, her posture calm, her eyes steady. The atmosphere shifted completely. Those who had ignored her before now instinctively stepped back, understanding the weight of her presence. The other generals looked at each other. Some smirked, some lowered their heads in acknowledgement. It wasn't humiliation for the colonel yet. It was the stark realization of the power dynamics he had just challenged. Marlowe's reputation was well known in higher circles, and yet here she stood quietly, serving coffee, a simple act that had exposed arrogance and ignorance. The aides began documenting the moment meticulously. It was rare, almost historic, for someone to be caught off guard by rank in this manner. The frozen general finally regained some composure. His voice was tight, formal. I was unaware, General Marlowe." It was a weak attempt to reclaim authority, but in this room, with everyone observing, it had no effect. Marlowe's calm tone corrected him, not harshly, not angrily, simply stating, "In this room, all ranks must be acknowledged. Your actions today compromised protocol and command discipline." The colonel lowered his head. He understood that respect for authority isn't just procedural, it is earned, observed, and unmistakable. She did not need to raise her voice. She did not need to point or gesture. Her presence alone commanded respect. Minutes passed. The general sat silently, and the room adjusted to the new hierarchy. Some aides whispered quietly. She didn't even raise her voice. That's the power of true command. Every movement in the room, from the generals to the soldiers, now reflected the acknowledgement of her authority. The young officer, now fully revealed as Brigadier General Marlowe, finished her business with the coffee tray. She placed it on the table, took a small step back, and gave the general a brief, calm nod. In that single gesture, the lesson was clear. Arrogance and assumption have consequences. In Part 4, the aftermath unfolds. The general faces formal accountability, command dynamics shift, and the true impact of underestimating authority is revealed.
The room had gone silent, but the tension remained thick. The general, once confident, now humbled, sat frozen, his mind racing. He had been challenged not by weapons or threats, but by presence and authority. Every officer in the room understood hierarchy was more than a title. It was respect, awareness, and acknowledgement. In Part 3, her true rank was revealed. Now the consequences unfold, and the lesson of authority becomes undeniable. A senior command officer approached the colonel, maintaining a formal demeanor. "Colonel, your conduct has been noted. A review will follow immediately. Failure to recognize rank and adhere to protocol cannot be overlooked." The colonel nodded stiffly, unable to deny the breach. Meanwhile, Brigadier General Marlowe remained composed, observing quietly. She had no desire for spectacle, only for order to be maintained and respect restored. Her presence alone had reshaped the room's dynamics without a single raised voice. The general's realization. The general who had frozen earlier finally exhaled, realizing the full extent of the situation. He had underestimated authority. He had assumed rank equaled control. He had been wrong. Every officer, every aide had witnessed the lesson. Arrogance could crumble in moments. Respect, when commanded silently, could command more power than any rank or title. Impact on the base. Word of the encounter traveled quietly through the base, not as gossip, not as humiliation, as an important lesson in command, hierarchy, and respect. Soldiers and officers paused before making assumptions. Orders were delivered with renewed mindfulness. Commanders acknowledged that presence, composure, and knowledge can outweigh rank in unexpected ways. The base was functioning again, but something fundamental had shifted: the recognition that authority is earned, not assumed. Final reflections. Brigadier General Marlowe finally departed, leaving the room restored to order, but not unchanged. Her calm, deliberate presence had transformed the atmosphere. The general, the colonel, and every observer had learned an invaluable lesson. Authority is not about ego. It is about restraint, respect, and composure. Narrator. Sometimes the greatest lessons in leadership are delivered not through confrontation, but through quiet assurance. Presence speaks louder than commands, and respect outweighs titles. The camera pans over the base, soldiers moving with renewed focus, the room echoing discipline restored. Narrator. Steady, reflective. This was more than a story about serving coffee or a frozen general. It was a story of true authority, how composure, presence, and understanding can reshape the command structure in a single moment. Here on United War, we bring you the stories that reveal courage, discipline, and the quiet power that defines real leadership.